Hello. Good morning. So I'm in the cemetery right now. I usually title these graveyard walks or graveyard chats, but this is technically a cemetery. And the difference, if you didn't know, is that a cemetery is not attached to a church, and a graveyard is. So, semantics, but it is what it is. So, the Wizard Liz was trending again. I don't know when I'll post this because I have a lot of videos scheduled and I'm trying to like space these out. But the Wizard Liz was trending again after the attention had died down. And she made a video, and I watched some of it. I was also watching somebody talk about the video and like connecting the dots and like explaining what went wrong or whatever. And I think it's interesting because from what I've watched, from what I've witnessed, it seems like the biggest mistake on her part was not listening to her intuition, you know? And I could definitely attest to that. Like, I found myself in some really dangerous situations because I was not listening to my intuition. And even currently, I'm in some situations that I'm still working to get out of because I did not listen to my intuition and or I did not know how to translate my intuition, because that's also a thing. Sometimes you can hear your intuition, you just don't know exactly what it's telling you. You know, like for example, when you're walking outside and there's a random gust of wind and you know it's saying something to you, you know it's communicating something to you, but it's just like, what's the message, Pablo? What you trying to tell me? You know? I don't know. But what I was thinking about before I started recording this was the crazy phenomena that happens where people, specifically people who are narcissistic, people who are abusive, people who are not the most sane up there, because a sane person is not going to emotionally manipulate somebody. A sane person is not going to force somebody to stick around when they don't want to. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what a sane person does. That's not what a normal person does. That's not what a healthy person does. But I was thinking about how it's such a paradox, because it's like, on their perspective, they're doing all this manipulation, they're doing all this abuse and doing all this stuff to try to get you to stick around. In some cases, it's to get you to like off yourself, which is really crazy to think about. But like, usually it's to get you to stay around because like you have a beautiful light, you're amazing to be around, and they don't want you to recognize that and go somewhere else and give somebody else that light. And it's a really backwards thing, because like in my mind it's like, you're doing all this shit, you're abusing me, you make me feel terrible, I don't want to stick around you, why would I want to stay here? Like, what? And I guess because they do reinforcement, because occasionally they'll give me some breadcrumbs or whatever, and it's like, no, I don't want this. I know that I deserve better. I know that there is better out there for me. So why the fuck would I want to stay here with you bitch ass crazy people? Like, what the fuck? Also, I'm purposely being vague because I don't like drama and I don't like putting my drama out onto the internet. Like, I can guarantee you, like, in the span that I've been recording videos and shit, there's always been something. There's always something to go through. There's always an experience to be had, negative and positive. I just try to use that as a learning moment, you know what I mean? And if I had to be a little transparent, I've been working very hard, very diligently to make money to get my first car. I just got my driver's license recently, and I've been saving to get a car. And the place where I'm staying, the people that are staying with me, I don't know. I'm not going to diagnose them. I'm not going to say exactly what I'm thinking. But there's this energy of like me doing what I do, trying to work and trying to be focused. And then almost everybody just kind of like being very, how do you say, disregarding? That's not the word. Very disrespectful. That's a pretty harsh word. But like, you know, just being a distraction and then not giving a fuck about it. Like, and because I'm who I am, I try to be considerate. So I'm not going to say anything. Also partially because I have said stuff before and it's always met with hostility. It's like, really? You're gonna be hostile with me when I'm just asking you to respect that I'm fucking trying to work here? You're a piece of shit. Like, it's really crazy to me to think that there are people in the world who don't mind being disrespectful, who don't mind being a nuisance to other people. You know, it's just like, I never did anything to you. All I ever did was try to be love. All I ever did was try to be, you know, a good person. That's all I ever tried to do. And when you're that type of person and it's constantly met with hostility, you have to recognize that the people who are giving you hostility are not the people that you need to be hanging around. They're not the people that you need to be proving yourself to. Because that's just who they are. That's who they've developed into. That's who they've chosen to be. And they have to want to be better. They have to want to grow out of that. You know what I mean? And honestly, if I could be rude, if I could be mean, it's really stupidity. Because it's like, when you really think about it for more than 10 seconds, it's like, why would I be mean to somebody who has the power to like ruin my life? Why would I be mean to somebody who has proven to be an agent of the divine? Like, why would I do that? Why would I hurt myself so much that I would do that? You know, it's just like stupid. And it's like, I don't go around hexing people. I don't go around wishing ill on people. But like, my presence is a blessing. You know what I mean? And if you're watching this, chances are your presence is also, you know, very valued, very beautiful, very amazing individual. If you're watching this, if you're aligned with me, you know. And sometimes this has a negative effect on people. Sometimes this makes people really act terribly. And it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. Sure, sometimes as humans we make mistakes. We do things or say things we shouldn't, but it's not on you. How other people choose to respond is all up to them. And not to be sacrilegious, but when you look at the story of Jesus, like, that's literally what happened. Like, somebody came down to help us, to teach us, to guide us, to enlighten us, and we fucking killed him. And then we twisted the story to make it seem like he was some savior. That's not... You can disagree, you can feel however you feel. I don't care. But, like, from my perspective, that's not what that story is supposed to be about. That story is supposed to be about somebody coming to guide us, to teach us the way. And we abuse that. We use his name to continue creating glory. And I say we, it wasn't me. I wasn't there. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, they did that. The people who were alive at that time. Like, assuming that the story is historical and not just fantastical, you know? I think for a lot of people, also excuse the faces that I'm making in between takes. I'm mostly doing that to give myself a pause so that I don't have a choppy video like sometimes I do. But what I think happens is that a lot of people would rather live in fantasy than actually live with truth and build upon truth. Because the truth is harsh. The truth is not always pleasant. And sometimes the truth is that you're a shitty person and you need to work on your traits and work on your mindset. And that's a harsh truth for somebody who doesn't know where to start, who doesn't have the tools, who has only ever grown up around toxicity, who's ever grown up around negativity. You know, that's a harsh truth for somebody like that. And I can kind of sympathize, but I don't know. Me personally, as a person who's always been geared towards self-development, self-improvement, evolution, growth, my mindset is that, like, there's always a lesson to be learned. There's always something to be learned. And I guess you can't really teach that to somebody who isn't open to learning, you know? So somebody who just wants to have a good time, somebody who just wants pleasure. You can't really push them to think that, because we live in a world where there's plenty of opportunities for pleasure. There's plenty of opportunities for fun, you know? And so if somebody doesn't want to learn, they don't want to learn, you know? And I don't know. Once again, not to compare myself to Jesus or any deities or whatever, but when you look at the Kundalini story, it's a very interesting story because it's about the divine feminine coming down to earth to kind of be of service in some way. And she makes a promise before she goes down. She's like, you know, they need to respect me. Like, if I don't feel respected, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna zap the fuck out of this bitch. And so she went down to earth, and it was all right for some time. Like, she did the mission, and then it was all right for some time. But then she started feeling disrespected by humans, and she was like, okay, no, bye, I'm gonna go. But she kind of was still of service, because she was like, okay, well, if any of you want to tap into this energy, it's already within you, so do you, boo. But yeah, that's how I feel. Like, a lot of times I feel like I'm once again, not to toot my own horn, not to compare myself to the greats, but sometimes I do feel like an alien or a god or like a mythical creature amongst a bunch of really disrespectful energies. Like a lot of humans do not know respect. Like they want respect, they wish to be respected, but they don't know how to give respect, you know? It's really weird. Like the hierarchy thing really does things to people's minds. Like a lot of people want to feel in control and then are so deep in the illusion they don't even know that they want to feel in control. And that's the worst thing, because it's like you don't even know. Like if you knew consciously that that's what you wanted, then yeah, you could move accordingly, but you don't even know. You're lying to yourself. You're convincing yourself that you want love, that you want other stuff. No, you want control. You want people to bow down to you. Like, be honest, be real. Because I used to want that. No lie. I used to want that. Like growing up, when I was journaling and affirming my life, that's what I wanted. I wanted to be famous. I wanted to be powerful. And I guess I have that now, more or less. Like sometimes people come into my live streams and call me king, and I don't have a big head about it. I really don't. Sometimes I blush at it. Sometimes I'm like, oh my god, not you calling me king. And it's because I understand the role of a king. I understand the role of power. Like the role of power is to influence people to do their best, to be great, to be awesome, to you know what I mean, to thrive. And a lot of people want that so that they can feel good about themselves. They don't really think too much about how they impact others, how they influence others. And that's why I don't take it to heart, because it's like, even, like apparently I was almost named king. My name was almost king. And that would have been a shift. That would have been very different, probably. But either way, like when I have a position of power, like I take that very seriously. Like they often say that the people who, how do I say this? The people who wish to be in power least are the ones who are the best at it. And I definitely agree with that. Like, I don't like being in power. I don't like having to tell people what to do. But I know that when I'm in that position, I do my job. Like, that's why I can't have a 9-to-5, because people are so hierarchical. People are so, like, ego-based. And it's like, I don't vibe with that. I don't like having to swim through that or navigate through that. You know what I mean? Like, I've had managerial positions that I was not paid correctly. I did have managerial positions. And I never saw it as like, oh, I'm so important. Oh, I'm so hot shot. Like, I just saw it as like, I'm doing a job and I just happen to be working over people. And one thing I noticed is that a lot of people, once again, very lazy, very slack. And like, I don't know, I say lazy and I want to pinpoint that for a second, because we live in a society where we've been taught to overwork and to overdo ourselves. And I don't think that's the way. I don't think that was the original design, for us to be constantly working and doing and creating. I don't think that's the way, you know? Like, not in the way that we have developed it, not in the sense of like urgency that we have it, you know, in the sense of like, I need to pay my bills, I need to get this money, I need to do this, I need to do that. Like, I don't think that's how it's supposed to be. And so when I say lazy, I don't really believe laziness exists. I think that exhaustion exists. I think that burnout exists. I think that wanting to relax exists. And I think, unfortunately, we live in a society where it's conditioned into our brain that you should always want to be working. You should always want to be doing something. And if you're not, then you're lazy. Now, if I could contradict myself, though, I do think that laziness exists in the sense that, like, some people will want something that is high effort. Some people will want something that requires a lot of effort, a lot of work, and they'll try to get it by being low effort. You know, like those people who try to extrapolate all that they can get from someone or something without putting that much work into it. I'd call that laziness to some degree, because it's like, you know that what you're asking for requires a lot of energy. You know, work smart, not hard. Sure. But are you even working smart? You know? I don't know. I think we live in a very interesting world. And when you're able to see it for what it is, you can navigate a lot better. But that doesn't make it any less interesting. That doesn't make it any less toxic, unhealthy, you know? So if you're watching this, if you watch to the end, thanks, I guess. Remember to keep your head up, stay prayed up, drink water, take care of yourself. Deuces.